A lost alien race discovers hope under humanity's protection. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars and civilizations, but not all of them thrived. Some were lost to time, their once great empires reduced to ruins and their people scattered to the winds. The KRYLL were one such race. Once a proud and advanced species, the KRYLL had been driven to the brink of extinction by a cataclysmic war with a ruthless alien empire known as the Vorath. Their homeworld had been glassed, their cities reduced to ash, and their population decimated. The few who survived became nomads, drifting through the stars in search of safety. But safety was hard to come by in a galaxy that had little mercy for the weak. For decades, the KRYLL wandered, their ships barely holding together and their hope fading with each passing year. They were a people without a home, without a future. Until they encountered humanity. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, but they had already made a name for themselves. They were resourceful, adaptable, and, most importantly, compassionate. When a human exploration vessel stumbled upon a KRYLL refugee ship drifting in the void, they didn't hesitate to offer aid. The KRYLL were wary at first. They had been betrayed too many times to trust easily. But the humans were persistent. They brought food, medical supplies, and engineers to repair the KRYLL's failing systems. Slowly, the KRYLL began to lower their guard. The leader of the KRYLL refugees, an elder named Tovan, met with the human captain, a woman named Elena. Tovan's once vibrant scales were dull with age and hardship, but his eyes still held a flicker of pride. "Why are you helping us?" Tovan asked, his voice tinged with suspicion. "What do you gain from this?" Elena smiled gently. "We don't need to gain anything to help someone in need. That's just what we do." Tovan was skeptical, but he had no other options. The KRYLL were running out of time, and humanity's offer was the first glimmer of hope they had seen in generations. Reluctantly, he agreed to let the humans escort them to a nearby system where they could establish a temporary settlement. The journey was not without challenges. The Vorath, who still hunted the KRYLL, had spies everywhere. It wasn't long before they learned of the KRYLL's alliance with humanity. A Vorath fleet was dispatched to intercept the refugee convoy, determined to finish what they had started. The humans, though outnumbered, were ready. Their ships were smaller and less advanced than the Vorath's, but they made up for it with ingenuity and determination. They used hit-and-run tactics, targeting the Vorath's weak points and retreating before the enemy could counterattack. The KRYLL watched in awe as the humans fought to protect them. For the first time in decades, they felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. When the battle was over, the Vorath fleet was in retreat. The humans had suffered losses, but they had bought the KRYLL enough time to reach the safety of the new system. As the KRYLL began to settle on a habitable moon, Tovan approached Elena. His skepticism had been replaced by gratitude. "You have given us more than just a home," Tovan said. "You have given us hope. We will not forget this." Elena nodded. "You're not alone anymore. We'll help you rebuild, and we'll make sure the Vorath never threaten you again." The KRYLL's journey was far from over, but for the first time in generations, they had a future. And it was all thanks to humanity. The KRYLL's new settlement on the moon, which they named KRYLL's Hope, began to flourish under humanity's guidance. The humans provided not only resources and technology but also a sense of security that the KRYLL had not felt in decades. For the first time in generations, they dared to dream of a future. But the Vorath were not done. The defeat of their fleet had been a blow to their pride, and they were determined to erase the KRYLL, and their human protectors, from existence. They began amassing a larger fleet, one capable of overwhelming even humanity's ingenuity. The humans, aware of the growing threat, began preparing for the inevitable confrontation. They fortified the moon's defenses, building orbital platforms and ground-based weaponry. They also trained the KRYLL in basic combat tactics, empowering them to defend themselves. Tovin, though grateful for humanity's help, was uneasy. He had seen the Voritha's brutality firsthand and knew what they were capable of. "We cannot win a war against them," he said to Elena during a strategy meeting. "They are too powerful." Elena's expression was grim but determined. "We don't have to win a war. We just have to make it too costly for them to keep fighting. If we can hold them off long enough, they'll lose interest." Tovin wasn't convinced, but he trusted Elena. Over the months, he had come to see her not just as an ally but as a friend. When the Vorith fleet finally arrived, it was a sight that struck fear into even the bravest hearts. Dozens of warships, each bristling with weapons, descended upon the system. The humans and KRYLL were outnumbered and outgunned, but they were ready. The battle was fierce. The Vorith unleashed a relentless barrage of plasma fire, targeting the moon's defenses and the human ships that stood in their way. The humans fought back with everything they had, their smaller, more agile ships darting between the enemy vessels and striking with precision. On the ground, the KRYLL manned the defenses, their newfound determination driving them to fight for their home. Tovin stood alongside Elena, directing the efforts and inspiring his people. "This is our chance," he told them. "We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for our future. For our children. For KRYLL's hope." The KRYLL, emboldened by his words, fought with a ferocity that surprised even themselves. They had been victims for too long, but now they were warriors. The turning point came when the humans launched a daring counterattack. Using a combination of stealth technology and guerrilla tactics, they infiltrated the Vorith flagship and disabled its main weapon systems. The flagship, now defenseless, was forced to retreat, throwing the rest of the fleet into disarray. The Vorith, realizing they had underestimated their enemies, began to pull back. The cost of the battle had been too high, and they could no longer justify the resources needed to continue the fight. As the last of the Vorith ships disappeared into hyperspace, the humans and KRYLL let out a collective sigh of relief. They had done the impossible. They had stood against one of the galaxy's most ruthless empires and emerged victorious. In the aftermath, the KRYLL began to rebuild once more. But this time, they were not alone. Humanity had proven that they were more than just protectors, they were allies. Tovin stood with Elena on the surface of KRYLL's Hope, looking up at the stars. "You have given us more than just a home," he said. "You have given us a future. We will never forget what you have done for us." Elena smiled. "You don't have to thank us. This is what we do. We look out for each other." The KRYLL's journey was far from over, but they were no longer a lost race. They had found hope under humanity's protection, and with that hope, they would build a new future.